I've been a filmmaker, I'm an artist as well. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you about it.
Great. I think very early on, I think you chose the arts and then gradually gravitated towards film, and maybe ninth grade. That's early in high school years for anyone. So, how was it like to make that decision when you were doing so well in high school in all other subjects as well?
Yeah. So my family, especially my mother, she's really into art, and I've been sort of marinated in the art of storytelling and a lot of antiques. She was an antique collector. So since my childhood, I've always been inclined towards, I've always been biased towards the art. And sort of living in like this hyperbolic Punjabi family, stories are everything. And eventually growing up in a household where our generational tales would pass down. I was really fascinated by the idea and concept of a story in a modern world, and sort of that's how at a very early age I started to decide that I wanted to go into something where I could tell viewers or have a voice about something, especially about a lot of cultural tales, a lot of instances that I'd want to talk about. So that's how I sort of went into the idea of filmmaking and communicating my ideas very early on.
So, about choosing subjects in high school which may or may not directly be related to film, but gave you some exposure to art. Do you think that helped, or you had to learn the craft pretty much outside of school?
So no, for sure. I think because I mean, you can approach the craft two ways. You can approach it thematically, where all of the subject in school, like I don't know, history, global politics, and stuff like that, help you sort of give a good concept or theme to what you want to work on. But the craft itself, I definitely recommend having a lot of like experience, field experience, going out there, meeting people, really pushing yourself and making sure you understand what the craft is all about. It's unfortunate because a lot of people won't do a lot of hand holding towards you, but you really have to sort of just keep on figuring stuff out as you go along the way.
So, as you went on that exploration path, you must have started researching university offerings, their courses, different tracks, concentrations within art and within film. What drew you to film school, and how did you go about searching these universities? And what's so different about going to a specialized film and art school compared to sort of going to a liberal arts college, which also does art?
That's a very interesting question because, I was really scattered at the start of researching a college, and I was really confused. I knew that I wanted to do something in film, but then I'm also a painter, so I had something that okay, I can definitely explore visual arts as a medium. And I deep down had an ambition to be a writer as well, so I was like, okay, what if I explore a liberal arts school? So starting off research was very difficult, but a good way that a way that the reason that I chose a film school was because it's really interdisciplinary, and having a specialized vocational degree I think is very useful in today's world, because then I have a path that I can work towards very concretely. And so I researched top schools and all of that, but I found the best way to find the school I want was to see the departments of each school and how their departments and their curriculum really adapts to what I want to do. So, this film school that I'm going to, Tisch, it has a very interdisciplinary approach. So it has a lot of visual art as well involved in the filmmaking, a lot of writing involved in the filmmaking. So it sort of sums up everything I wanted to do. And that was after researching each department, each professor, what their work has been like, what their attitude towards filmmaking is. Is it commercial? Is it more independent? And stuff like that.
Great. So as you started then, yeah, narrowing down on certain concentrations, departments, courses, and you had a body of work which was also evolving. And I believe then you chose writing and directing as basically your area of interest. Tell us a little bit about different options film students have to choose from other than directing and script writing.
So that's the best part about going to films, because you have a big array of options. You can totally go into directing and writing like I did, but if you're more of like a visual person, a person that likes to communicate his or her idea visually, you can go into production designing, which is the set designing, stage designing, lighting design, or you can go into acting, of course. That's a very different side of filmmaking. You can also, there are options of theater. I mean, really interesting stuff is coming up between theater and film. Another very interesting avenue for filmmakers is virtual reality and augmented reality. So that's there's a whole department in NYU where I'm going in Tisch, where they solely focus on AR and VR. So we have options like hair and makeup. We have options like lighting design, yeah, producing and documentary making essentially.
All right, so we got to switch gears now and talk more about what got you in. There are two parts to it. One was, of course, all the hard work you put in making films, writing, all the art. So, if you could highlight one or two or three things that you feel were really important for you and that you got recognized for. Um, and the second part is, the writing, which is especially for film and art school students, especially when you say you want to be a script writer, director, writing and sending in creative samples is a very important part. Even the personal essay on the Common App becomes really important. So two parts. What was the body of work that you sent as a supplement? Which are the two or three things you were really proud of, let's say? And the other was the writing emphasis. And how did you sort of identify the stories you wanted to narrate?
Yeah. So my body of work, I'll be very honest with you. I'm not being modest, but it was extensive. And that was largely because I had shot 3 films over a course of 2 years. So I already started strategizing when I was in like ninth, 10th, that okay, I need to make a body of work that actually stands out. And then I had a portfolio, which was my art component, where I did about 15 paintings and write-ups on each painting or any digital media. So I had installations, I had sculptures, I had a little bit of virtual reality in there. So I had a variety of work because essentially that's what they're looking at with a core theme, and that core theme was reflected in every work I did. It was sort of like a cultural theme that I had. And I think that's really important to have in a body of work because it's essentially talks about who you are, and that also spurs what you can write in your essays as well, because what I wrote was extremely similar to the theme that I had picked. And talking about a few pieces of work that really stood out, but I think my latest film Seeped, it won about I think, if I'm not wrong, 19 awards and had 21 nominations all over the world. So that was a really big deal because I shot this film over 9 days, and it was a, a total of 6 months that went into this project. And then I traveled to a lot of festivals after that. I had a team coming in from Bombay. I pitched my idea to financiers. I went into the hardcore practicalities of filmmaking, because it was sort of a test for me as well, if this is what I want to do, and if this is, if I'm passionate, and obviously create a beautiful result. So that was a very extensive project that I did, and I think that definitely helped my application stand out. I think another thing that really helped was I did a couple of I think, yeah, of course, my artworks and my installations were I think very interesting because I had installations that went up to 48 feet, that were really large scale, that were collaborative installations. I did a couple of radio shows as well, episodes on the radio, which essentially what my Common App essay was about. And so I think, yeah, so I had a variety of yeah.
Yeah, typically when we teach or try to sort of draw out stories from students for their Common App essay, it's not an easy task, especially when students like you have too many stories to tell. And then there's the other side where students find it hard to find the stories, even if they have amazing experiences. So, with you, obviously, the first was the issue, and there were so many interesting experiences you had. And so, how did you finally think that you were on the right path? of discussing while discussing your essay topic and then hitting on it?
I think it wasn't until my 14th draft when my mentor finally approved a topic that I'm going to do. So that's also, it partly reflects on your team and Edbrand, which I've had an amazing experience with, which we'll come back to later. But yeah, so narrowing down to an essay topic was not easy for me for sure. But I think I knew that I was on a right track when I actually found my voice, and when I found the confidence that this is something that I really want to talk about. I mean, I dabbled on a lot of topics and I wondered, okay, if this would work, if this wouldn't work, but I was sure with this one, which was about a radio show and sort of my relationship with how I want things to change in the city, how I want like a cultural perspective to change, taboo topics to be talked about, and sort of my childhood, growing up in my mom's boutique. So I found this, and how I was interested into stories and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a challenge for sure, but I think once you find your point of view and you find what exactly is you want to tell about yourself, and what exactly you've been through, you get your essay topic.
All right, so now we'll pretty much close or reach the last part of this podcast, and it's about life gyan. And there are so many students like you, juniors, who will be applying to film school or otherwise in other sort of majors too. What do you think would be one piece of advice or a few things you'd like to mention?
Yeah. So I just think that, a lot of people are scared or afraid to do something big. And that's something that I had overcome at a very early age. And I think that I would, really encourage everyone to just go big, literally go big, do work, or, have ideas, dream big, and create something that in the end of the day impacts the people that you live with, the society that you live in. I think more than anything, having that sort of impact will definitely carve a niche in your resume and your portfolio, but also help you grow as an individual, because throughout this entire process I've grown a lot, writing essays. I've thought about things I'd never think about. I've actually learned how to attempt the question, who am I? And that's all about growing through this process which I've had. And obviously with the support of you guys at Brands has been absolutely fantastic to me. I can't tell you how much I've annoyed your team, but despite all of that, we've finally managed to do something great. So yeah, my advice would be just go big or go home, literally.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think that's one thing our team would love to hear. Like, what specifically worked? Working with you was obviously a sort of really a great time we all had with you in terms of all your idiosyncrasies and making up your mind to do it in certain ways and absorbing ideas in your own time. But it was extremely beneficial, I think, to just have those well-meaning conversations and highly engaged conversations. Very often we find it a struggle to have students not engage and not exude that confidence. But yeah, it was the other way around here. So fantastic. Now, yeah, anything you'd like to share as a message for the Edbrand team?
Uh, it's been an incredible journey, and I think I mean my mentor was Alicia, and we worked great as a team. Even though I know there were instances where we were really annoyed with each other, but I think what really got us through was the ethos of Ed Brands, and the absolute dedication towards students like me, the multiple perspectives that were brought in by every member at this stage, as well as I think really good the ability to dissent. So I was able to debate and discuss and sort of I won't say fight but argue about different things, and she'd come back with an understanding. So that really helped me grow, and I do think that throughout this process I have grown, and I think that's and hats off goes to you guys.
It's been fantastic, Maurya, and look forward to doing a fresh off the boat series with you. That's when you get to college, and experience a full term or a full year or years. So look forward to
Yeah,
following your journey, and
can't wait.
let's
Yeah,
stay in touch.
definitely.